Under the pressure of a looming Trump administration deadline to, quote, remove divisive or partisan narratives by tomorrow or risk losing federal funding, the Smithsonian has removed mention of President Trump's impeachments from the label that's next to his new portrait. The old label, which is still, by the way, on the National Portrait Gallery website, has facts about Trump's presidency, including that he was impeached twice on charges of abuse of power and incitement of insurrection before being acquitted by the Senate. The new text only explains when Trump was born and that he is the 45th and 47th president of the United States. Here to talk about it, Ashley Parker, writer at The Atlantic and MS Now contributor. So the New York Times, Ashley, reports that 62% of the museum's budget comes from federal funds. Do they have a choice?
I mean, they clearly feel like they don't have a choice. And this is one of these areas where the president is smashing through boundaries, the same as taking over the Kennedy Center, appointing himself chair of the board, changing the name. And some of this in the current moment where we, seize the Venezuelan president in a late night raid, where it looks like the Fed chair is potentially being investigated for political reasons. These sorts of soft violations of norms, for lack of a better term, can go a little bit unnoticed. But it's worth noting that this, like everything else in the Trump administration, is incredibly unprecedented.
Yeah, do we know exactly what's behind the president's fixation, it seems, on the Smithsonian, which, again, now has this deadline tomorrow to turn over records related to their content review?
Well, again, specifically on him wanting that sentence about him being impeached twice, I can just tell you from my reporting, it was a sentence that drove him crazy. It really bothered him. And I remember from the first term, I wrote about how the word impeachment, Donald Trump at that point couldn't even bring himself to say it. He called it the I word. It was sort of like this scarlet letter. It's something that infuriates him. And his view is that he's the president, his government is funding these institutions, and he should, like everything else, be able to bend it to his will.
And so far, it seems he has. This is the second museum to remove mention of Trump's impeachments. You have to wonder what it's like, Ashley, if you're a historian or another worker at the Smithsonian, and you're now tasked, essentially, with editing history to make sure it doesn't ruffle political feathers. I mean, this goes far beyond just the mention of impeachment.
That's right. And from what some of these federal workers and historians and other people have said, often once they've left those institutions, in many cases, institutions that were the capstone of a career where they had expected to spend the rest of their days, where they had expected to retire, they're devastated. It goes against all of their training and all of their values.
Ashley Parker, it's always good to see you, my friend. Thank you so much for that.